So for our second example, we want to convert FB3 in base 16 to base 10, where it's important to note here that that actually is a numeral. It's just that in base 16, or as it's called hexadecimal, because we don't have enough digits built into our system to go above 9, we're really kind of married to base 10, we have to use English letters to fill in those gaps. So we go from A through F to handle what would be something like the value 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 in terms of hex instead of decimal. But anyway, thinking about that, FB3 in base 16 has the exact same sort of process as before. We need to identify our place values, where since we're base 16, you've got a 16 to the 0, a 16 to the first, and a 16 squared. So if we want to take those and then multiply them in to get the actual place values, well, F we have to be careful with. That's our last one. That gets us to 15. So FB3 in base 16 will be organized by the sum 15 times 16 squared plus B is going to be the second one after 10. So that's going to be something like 11 times 16 to the first, which again, I acknowledge this looks really weird, doesn't it? But that's kind of the language that we're stuck with working on these things. Anyway, we have an 11 times a 16 to the first, and then 3 is just 3, thankfully. So we have 3 times 16 to the 0 power. 15 times 16 squared is 3840 plus 176 plus 3. So converting this into base 10 gives us 4019 in base 10 is equivalent to FB3 in base 16. Where, thankfully, because 16, even though we're not going to see it here, converts really, really easily, actually, to binary, to base 2. These are also used in computer science, where, in particular, each hexadecimal digit is actually worth, thanks to that nice conversion factor, 4 binary digits, bits. And because 4 bits is half of a byte, we consider 1 hex digit to be half of a byte, which is sometimes called a nibble. It's a very cute name. Anyway, the idea with conversion to one consistent base, especially base 10, is fairly algorithmic. I won't say easy, but it's repetitive and manageable up to your ability to carefully handle this arithmetic. It's easy to make silly mistakes, but it's also not terribly complicated for this process. The other way, which is what we're going to see next, we're not quite so fortunate because we don't have that consistent target. When we're going from base 10 to other places, it takes a little bit more careful thought, and that's what we'll finish the section with.